lone hand has raised
Subversive.
Actually, that is one more than I expected, I have to be honest. Fuck no. Sorry. We are uncensored, but oh my God, the idea there's any comparison between Diana, who was the biggest star.
It all started with a whisper, a murmur in the dark corners of the internet, barely noticeable at first. But like all Meghan Markle-related media tremors, this one escalated quickly. A tiny ripple, and then, boom, Piers Morgan drops a bombshell that shakes the entire world once again. And this time, the fallout, it's massive. Because Piers didn't just make a statement. No. He dropped a hidden interview, a never-before-seen, never-before-heard piece of footage that was buried deep, locked away in an archive. And when it surfaced, it wasn't just shade. It was a wildfire. The story begins the way all Meghan-adjacent media earthquakes begin, with a whisper, a rumor, a little tremor on social media. But then, boom, a Piers Morgan-sized bomb hits the internet, and suddenly the entire world is on fire again. And this time, the blast radius, massive. Because Piers didn't just speak, he dropped a hidden interview. One never aired, never referenced, never leaked until now. And this lost footage doesn't just throw shade at Meghan Markle, it ignites a wildfire. As the clip began circulating, Meghan didn't sit back and let it slide. Oh no. The moment that clip hit, insiders say she didn't just get angry, she completely lost it. Word on the street, she went ballistic. And I mean detonated, as one insider described it. Imagine a volcano erupting, but instead of lava, it's all the carefully curated public images she'd built over the years.
Behavior became obnoxious, self-serving, and rankly hypocritical.
Now, here's the wild part. The moment the clip surfaced, Meghan reportedly went ballistic. As one insider put it, she didn't just go nuts, she detonated. So let's rewind. How did we get here? It all started when Piers teased a personal archive project on X, claiming he'd found old recordings from interviews that were never cleared by the palace. Everyone assumed it would be harmless. A bit of royal commentary, maybe some behind-the-scenes banter. Nobody saw this coming. The clip wasn't some vague commentary. No, this was personal, and it was big. The audio was grainy, time-stamped, and undeniably real. It shows Piers sitting across from a blurred voice and a masked face. At first, you'd think it's just a palace staffer, maybe a producer, someone who wouldn't even matter. But then, the audio shifts.
Decision taken by the palace to stop Archie being a prince based on his potential.
Nobody expected what came next. The clip is grainy, time-stamped, and unmistakably real. It's Piers sitting across from someone whose voice is blurred and face is masked. At first, you think it's just a producer or a palace aide, but then the audio shifts. The voice becomes clearer and you hear one line, the line that sent Meghan spiraling. She always said her plan was bigger than Harry. Much bigger. That was it. 6 words. 6 words that blew up the internet. The bomb was dropped, and suddenly the royal world was ablaze with speculation. Who was this person? Who had the guts to speak out like this, especially about Meghan Markle, and on tape no less? Was it a former staffer, an old friend, an ex-publicist, or someone who was in on Meghan's grand transition from Hollywood starlet to Duchess? So instantly, the royal sleuths, the YouTube analysts, the commentators, the body language experts, they all went feral. Theories exploded. Was the speaker a palace insider, a former staffer, someone who worked with Meghan in the early days? And then Piers drops the kicker. This was part of an interview we were never allowed to air. Oh, that did it. That took the scandal from tea spill to Category 5 media hurricane. Within minutes, hashtags erupted across social platforms. Hashtag Megasit 2.0, Piers versus Meghan. Hashtag bigger than Harry. Theories spiraled out of control. The internet was on fire. Memes started popping up faster than you could blink. And by lunchtime, reaction videos flooded social media. But behind the scenes, that's when things got real messy. Meghan's team, in a panic, a full meltdown. What no one expected was that this hidden clip was the end of the carefully constructed image Meghan had painted. The narrative she'd spent years building, that she was a humble American woman who never set out for fame or grandeur in the royal world, was torpedoed with one sentence. Her plan was bigger than Harry. Much bigger. This wasn't just a slip of the tongue. This was a bomb that shattered her story. And Meghan knew it. She knew it would unravel everything. She immediately summoned her inner circle, PR experts, lawyers, crisis communications, her entire squad. The phones were out. The documents were up. The digital team was in full crisis mode, operating like they were preparing for an emergency evacuation. She reportedly shouted, "We need to shut this down. We need to shut him down." Suddenly, lawyers were firing off letters. Advisors were calling networks. PR managers were spinning like tornadoes. And the palace? Oh, the palace didn't say a word, not publicly. publicly at least. But behind those stone walls, they were watching carefully, quietly, probably with popcorn. Because here's the thing, the monarchy never forgets, never forgives, never misses a chance to let someone dig their own grave, especially if they already packed the shovel. But here's the catch. Piers Morgan lives for moments like this. He thrives off confrontation. And the moment Meghan flinched, he went harder. That very evening, he posted on social media teasing his next move, writing, "There's much more where that came from." And that's when Meghan's team really hit panic mode. The situation wasn't just out of control, it was spiraling. More clips? More tapes? Was Piers about to unleash the real meat of the interview? The one that could potentially finish what was left of Meghan's carefully managed public image? Meghan's team scrambled to try to stop it, but Piers had already made sure the internet knew there was more. The more he teased, the worse it got for Meghan. The internet was on fire. Theories, accusations, memes, everything was exploding at once. The clip was everywhere, dissected to death by commentators, body language experts, and royal sleuths. But behind all the chaos, Meghan's crisis team was scrambling to maintain control. Meghan's reaction? A full-scale meltdown. Insiders reported that she wasn't just upset, she was devastated. This wasn't a minor setback. This wasn't just an inconvenient headline. No, this was a disaster that threatened to unravel everything she had worked for. As the fallout raged on, the real panic set in. Meghan's team didn't just worry about Piers posting more clips, they were terrified of what would come next. Who was the mystery voice? And why did they choose now to speak? Piers knew exactly what he was doing. He wasn't just teasing, he was drawing this out, savoring the moment. Every new clip he released was like pouring gasoline on the fire. He was feeding the frenzy, and Meghan, well, she was fighting a battle she wasn't sure she could win. Meanwhile, journalists began digging. They wanted to know who the mystery voice belonged to. Was it a staffer Meghan once clashed with? A former friend? Someone from Suits? An ex-publicist? Or, this is the theory that sent Meghan into orbit, was it someone she cut out of her life after meeting Harry? As Piers continued to tease, the media was all over this. Reporters, bloggers, and online detectives raced to figure out who the voice belonged to. One theory? A palace insider who had witnessed Meghan's transition from Hollywood actress to royal hopeful. Someone who knew her early plans. Someone who had been there when the vision started to form. And when the internet finally pieced the mystery together, that's when things truly exploded. The internet erupted when they found the voice. It wasn't a distant acquaintance. It wasn't some random co-worker. It wasn't even an anonymous commentator with a grudge. It was someone who had been in her inner circle during the crucial transition. Someone who had seen firsthand how she mapped out her career. And when they spoke, it confirmed something Meghan never wanted anyone to know. Her goal wasn't just to marry Harry. It was to outgrow him. And just like that, the narrative she had worked so hard to control was shattered. The public started asking questions Meghan couldn't answer. Did she always plan to outgrow Harry? Was this all part of a bigger strategy? Or was she just resentful of royal constraints? And while Piers continued to milk the drama, dropping more cryptic teasers like a reality show villain, Meghan's team was in full panic mode. Lawyers, PR experts, damage control specialists, everyone was working overtime to try and contain the chaos. But it was too late. The genie was out of the bottle and there was no putting it back. Piers milked the chaos like a man hosting the Super Bowl of grudges. He went on air smirking, sipping tea, dropping coy comments like, "You think that was the only recording? You think she told people the whole truth?" Oh, the things we know. It was peak Piers. Messy, petty, and impossibly entertaining. But for Meghan, this wasn't entertainment, this was war. And she wasn't just fighting Piers, she was fighting public perception. As the media storm continued, Meghan's team went into crisis mode. They were no longer trying to control the narrative, they were trying to salvage it. But with each passing hour, more speculation grew. More theories emerged. Was this a deliberate strategy to destabilize her? Or was this just a slip of the tongue that revealed a deeper truth? And even more troubling, the royal family wasn't intervening. The palace quiet as ever. Not a word, not a leak, not even the usual subtle guidance they usually provide when the media starts to get too close. Nothing. And for Meghan, that silence was louder than any statement. It made her fear the worst, that the monarchy might already know everything and wasn't stepping in to defend her. The palace, oh, they didn't say a word, not publicly at least. But behind those stone walls, they were watching carefully, quietly, probably with popcorn. Because here's the thing, the monarchy never forgets, never forgives, never misses a chance to let someone dig their own grave, especially if they already packed the shovel. And as Piers continued to unleash the rest of the hidden interview, things only escalated. The rumors, the questions, the doubts all grew. People weren't asking if Meghan was being honest. No, they were asking why the clip had been buried. Why had this information been kept secret? And most damning of all, who was behind the cover-up? By sunrise, the speculation had reached a fever pitch. Every part of Meghan's carefully crafted narrative was being torn apart. The idea that she was some humble outsider who never had grand royal ambitions was shattered. This was no longer about a single clip. This was about a bigger picture. And the more Piers teased, the more it felt like there was something even bigger lurking beneath the surface. But Meghan's team, they weren't just sweating the small stuff, they were terrified. Because they knew something the public didn't. If Piers had these tapes, and if he was still sitting on more explosive content, then they were dealing with a battle they might never win. Piers, smelling weakness like a shark with blood, closed his next broadcast with the most chilling tease yet. We haven't even gotten to the real part of the interview. The internet froze. If what we've seen already is the warm-up, what on earth is in the rest of that footage? Meghan's PR operation? They were officially in meltdown mode. Panic phone calls, angry rebuttals, lawyers working overtime. But what could they do? Piers had succeeded. He had taken this story and turned it into a spectacle. And the worst part? The palace wasn't stepping in. By noon the next day, reporters were camped outside Meghan's Montecito home. They saw the lights on in every window, cars coming and going, and security personnel pacing. Inside, a crisis meeting that was focused on one thing: how do you fight a ghost from the past when the world is waiting for them to talk? The clip wasn't just damaging, it was destabilizing. Because if Meghan's old insider was right, if she did always plan to outgrow the monarchy, then her entire narrative, victimhood, innocence, confusion, naivety, began to crack. And Piers knew it. Oh, he absolutely knew it. Which is why, just before going off air again, he said something that sent chills through the entire royal reporting world. This story is far from over. And that, my friends, is where we leave it for now. The battle between Meghan Markle and Piers Morgan is far from finished, and as we've seen, there's much more to this story than meets the eye.